Today's Autogefühl episode is also very special to me because this one here, the Kia Ceed GT, was in 2013 one of the very first cars I have reviewed. Well, now 6 years later, there is the all-new generation of the Kia Ceed, the Ceed CD. So we'll tell you all about that in general. And of course today the special focus on the Kia Ceed GT, the sporty version of this one here. Please join us in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. The face of the new Ceed generation already looks somewhat sporty, the GT, then with some sportier spoilers and some very interesting accentuations, not only the GT badge, but also you can see in this comp style grille there's a red accentuation right there, and it varies from the vision angle. It's really interesting right there. Then the headlamps, normal Ceed comes standard with halogen, optional LED, the GT line and the GT here, the true GT, always come with LED main headlamps as standard. And for every seat also this 4-dot design of the LED daytime running light is now standard. So overall I think a very sporty and fresh design in the front. Well, what do you think? The length is at 4 meters 31, 14 foot 1 or 170 inches. And the most interesting aspect about this vehicle is the all-new platform that is shared with the Hyundai i30. Therefore also Hyundai i30N, and here the Kia Ceed GT somewhat share the same genes. But this one here, the Kia Ceed GT, is not set out to be the sportiest top high spec in this hot hatch segment, not price wise, not power wise, but that's totally okay. I'll tell you more later about that, what I mean that also when we drive the vehicle. You can see here the wheels, usually with the normal Ceed, come with 15 inch, 16 inch, 17 inch. And here the GT, you can also get them with the top 18 inch. With red accentuation right there, very beautifully done. I think, well, yeah, 17 inch is also possible for the GT. Also looks okay, but this one of course looks even better. However, the bigger you get from the wheel size, the more comfort you also lose just a little bit. Then contrasting mirror caps here in black, and this red color also reminds me of the one I've been driving in 2013 from a previous generation. It's by the way also good for you, not only emotional for me, because I still remember very well that day, so I can also compare in driving the previous generation. And then this very elegant line right there, this, you know, this cut, interesting as for the design element here, but overall the side profile is rather conservative, not too much screaming out. And should you wonder, is there a version that goes on further right there? Yes, the SW, the Estate and the Pro Ceed, which is now, yeah, like a shooting brake and not the 3-door version anymore. They continue 30 centimeters to the rear, so they're 13 centimeters longer. And the Pro Ceed, which is like the CLA shooting brake or something, as for the form now, that one is also available as the GT. Finally, in the third generation, Kia decided to drop the act with writing Ceed in a very complicated way. So it's just CEED now, just those letters, and that's it. Glad they did it now in a just simple way. And the rear perspective here, very interesting for the LED signature, also in the rear, beautifully executed. And an honest design in the lower part, since those exhaust tips here are very well integrated in the real exhaust. And the GT version also gets a black diffuser in the middle part. Well, you don't get hydraulic struts, but you do get several engines for the Kia Ceed. In general, there's the 1.4 liter naturally aspirated engine, 100 horsepower. Then there's the 1 liter turbo, 120 horsepower. A 1.4 liter turbo, 140 horsepower, about 9 seconds in the acceleration. And then this one here in the GT, the 1.6 liter turbo petrol engine with 204 horsepower, 7-speed DCT, dual clutch transmission or also a manual gearbox. 7.4 seconds is the acceleration to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. By the way, there would also be a 1.6 liter diesel with 115 or 136 horsepower. And since we later on mostly will drive that in a little sportier note, let me already give you some consumption figures I tested earlier, so I can get a little bit lower in a realistic fashion, you know, not driving too slow but also not too fast. So realistic consumption of a little bit less than 8 liters on 100 kilometers. That would be about more than 29 mpg US or a little bit more than 35 mpg UK. For this 1.6 liter turbo petrol engine in the Kia Ceed GT. Let's take a look at the interior together here. We have some red contrast stitches at the inside of the doors. In the front, by the way, this is an also soft touch material. And also here, for example, the door handles, quite good build quality. Memory set for the seats, soon more about that. Then you also have a sporty scheme for the rest of the interior with red contrast stitches, for example at the inside of this flat bottom steering wheel, GT floor mats together with aluminum pedals. Then there are also fabric and fabric leatherette mix seats for the normal seat. Here for the GT you have sport seats with more shoulder support and microfiber on the inside, then some parts of leatherette on the outside, and then also some animal skin parts. I think that's not really necessary. They could have made the rest of the parts also then from the more sustainable leatherette. But overall, already a good choice. Well, a lot of red contrast stitches, you can see it right there. Do you like this sporty interior? Now getting inside. Well, it's a compact hatch and it also really feels like that, but the main difference to the previous generation is that here you feel a little bit more spacious. So this one leaves you more air basically than the previous generation. That's really good. Steering wheel can be adjusted in height and also in reach. And it's also a very cool one, as I said earlier, with a flat bottom right there. So that's also good for longer legs here. When I sit here in the lowest position, still have plenty of headroom left. That's no problem. So also tall adults will feel at home here. And those sportier seats, well, they are, let's say, not the most comfortable one I've been ever sitting on, but they're also not too bad. So overall, I think, good result here also for the front seat. Electric control, nice to have that one also with 2 memory seats. That's always really good when you use the car, especially with 2 persons that have really totally different seat setup. Then it's easy to set it again. If you have struggled, by the way, if you already own the car and hey, it didn't really work, you have to turn the ignition on first, not the engine. The ignition is enough, but then you can also use the set button and then save your position. Otherwise, when the car is turned off, it will not work. Look at that. When the doors open and you actually hit the ignition button to turn it off, the car seat slides back, and when you hit it again, car prepares to drive, it slides back in the front. Is known from luxury vehicles, but not here in the compact segment, so it's good to have it here. Oh, and by the way, if you have the door open and the ignition on at the same time, you always get those super annoying warning sounds. And well, in some cars they are maybe mandatory for some markets, and in some they are more annoying than in others. But I think this one here is definitely a very annoying one. Or what do you think? And here we go with the interior overview. Soft touch here at the top part and also right there. I really don't like the split right there, but for example the Volkswagen Golf has the very same split here. Well, maybe they find a better solution at some time here. For example, in the Seat Leon they have like this element right there, and then the cut right there does not really pay a lot of attention. This is maybe a more elegant solution. No, we always find those details in the vehicles. The steering wheel has a great size and also is slim enough for very sporty handling. Great build quality here at the knobs at the steering wheel, also with some clicking sound. You control the cruise control right there on the left side, for example, also to mute the music. Then you get 5, 7 or 8-inch screen. This one is the biggest 8-inch screen. Already the 7-inch screen has a GPS and also the Android Auto or Apple CarPlay connection. And this is all done via touch. Soon a little bit more details to that. I like that they, on the other hand, all have still menu controls. Now again, those warning sounds. Then here, for example, what's now? Oh, there we go. Easy to control the climate unit here, also with a digital view. Feels good, everything here once more. It's such an easy control also for the steering wheel heating system right there. Just an easy knob also for the heated seats. Really easily done. Then in the lower part, you have this inductive charging platform that's on the top right there, if you like it. On the lower part, you have USB support, another one also right there, and a 12-volt power supply. And then there's either the DCT, automatic shifting lever, or a manual right there, and the sport button to boost the driving mode a little bit up. I'll tell you soon a little bit more about that. The instrument cluster is rather analog and sporty. Reminds me a little bit of Alfa Romeo with those very deep instruments. In the middle part we have a small digital screen. There you can have, for example, the consumption info or a digital speedometer. This one here when you drive a little bit sportier. But as I said, we can also score a little bit better consumption if we like to. And a little bit more info about the infotainment. Here we have the Apple CarPlay. And let's see, when I play some music right there, this option JBL sound system sounds quite good actually. So very nice pick if you like music. Can we still use the GPS? Yeah, we can use the GPS while playing the Apple CarPlay music. However, here still no pinch and zoom possible. Not sure why they went for that. However, you can zoom in and out then here with the right knob. That's still good. However, this one here, not really a convincing system to me. It's a little bit too complicated. I would rather set them maybe just mainly use the CarPlay and stuff. You can also connect your phone with Bluetooth if you like. And you know, from the visual point, all is quite good. And then simple again, here also as for the settings, for example, if I want to change the language, it's quite easily done. And the rear view camera, well, the resolution could be a little bit better. Other than that, it does a good job and also nice to have it. And it also shows the direction you are steering to. Then here in the lower part, adaptive cup holders, again, good build quality. You can slide that also like this. Electric handbrake, and then there's a cubby hole right there with some decent space on the inside, and the attachment here is also well done, so it doesn't wobble around too much. You can also slide it just a little bit forward right here. There we go. This could be a little bit better indeed. Well, then you guys might wonder again, oh, so many extra features Thomas has shown us, and then the price is already like going nuts. Well, not here in this case. The car, as it stands here right now, you can still get for about 30k, so 30,000 euros. In Germany, that would be the German price, and I think that's quite decent, also considering what we already have. Let's now get in the rear, and this is one of the very few problems of this vehicle. You don't have so much rear legroom. I actually, as you know, when I'm driving here, and yes, this seat is not slid way back there, so I have turned the ignition on, that it's actually forward the seat, and still for 4 adults no chance in here when they are tall. Well, headroom is not a problem, still leaves some more room above my head, but here as for the knees, really a big problem. And this is even worse here with those sport seats. If you have the normal seat where the seats are a little bit slimmer, then you have a little bit more legroom. Rear doors, by the way, are hard pack material, but I mean, for the price it's also okay. What is cool here, however, that even in the rear you have the same nice Alcantara setup here with the middle parts, so you can very well sit on those, also in a sporty fashion, and Isofix at the outside of those seats. Taking a look at the trunk here in length, it's about 80 centimeters, and in width it's a little bit more than a meter. About 400 liters in capacity. That's better than in the previous generation and also easier to load things in and out. That's the way it looks like, and you can put it also upright. That still fits also with the top cover. So I think a good result. You can really easily access this whole trunk area, although it's just a hatch. Some more space below that here, 12-volt power supply also in the trunk. If you want to go 600 liters plus, then you would have to go for the SW or the Pro Ceed. The Pro Ceed then at 600 liters, the SW even a little bit more. Here you can easily flip the bench and also up again, and you can see if you have this trunk cover right there, it also forms almost an even surface. This front seat cannot be flipped entirely to the front because you have this turning knob there in the front seat, so that won't work that much. But you can see we can also go with the other side here, and to my driver's seats it would then be here about 1.50 meters. Welcome to Thomas's active driving lounge today, and let's put in that sport mode that gives us a little bit more exhaust sound and also turns up the gears a little bit more. And we use the shifting pedals because I just feel like doing so. Nice response from that steering wheel. Oh, a little bit slip on the front tires. Gonna need a differential right there. Second gear. Up this next corner, see a little bit losing the grip on the front tires again. Wow, what a great handling. Nice. That feels like a rally vehicle. Nice. Whoa, this is a lot of fun, guys. Amazing. So, you've already seen, I pushed the car a little bit to the limit. So, yeah, those front-wheel driven hot hatches do have some limit, you know, because when you really hammer it, it just starts spinning. And well, those with the front wheel differential, well, you know, differential on the front axle, limited slip differential, they can reduce that effect a little bit, yes, but even not there, you know, it's not entirely possible. But still, a lot of fun. Good with this new chassis that gives you a neutral feeling, a really stiff feeling of the vehicle. So chassis-wise, well job, good job, or job well done, so to say. Also the shifting pedals here, this is really cool to use. So since we have those, you will not miss a manual version of this vehicle. There is one, yes, and if you like it, you can just go for that one. But I would really recommend this dual clutch transmission because it gives you more comfort in traffic and also very nice to use downhill and also uphill with the shifting. Oh, some birds. Always watch birds on the road. They're first, we're second. Cool. This vehicle is a lot of fun, I can tell you. Really, a lot of fun. What about some motorway driving? Put to the sport mode here too. You can hear some more of that sound. Shift back a gear. And here some quite decent sound, although it's not too loud, definitely. You can always use those shifting pedals here with the dual clutch transmission. That's really good, and they feel as it would be of very good quality, so it's really fun to shift them here as well. You can also use the lower shifting gear, and again, when you push forward, the gear goes up. When you pull it, the gear goes down, and I think we all agree it should be the other way around. A lot of manufacturers have that this way, and I still don't know why. It's not really intuitive, I think. Well, but you can also pull to the right side again. You go to the automatic mode once more. And now we'll stay at about 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. And I have to say, maybe the noise insulation is a little bit better than in the previous generation, but I don't think it's as in top-notch in the segment overall. It's quite okay, but definitely not top-notch. I think you can also pick that up on camera. However, what is really better than in previous generation is the overall drive feel. As for the body stiffness, because they're using this all new platform, and so you feel that you're a little bit more in control of the vehicle, that the vehicle basically has evolved. Also assistance systems wise, of course, there's the blind spot monitor, for example, flashing when a car appears here next to me. That's a very necessary system to have nowadays cars. I think you should always go for that one. It definitely adds towards safety. Very flat A-pillar here, by the way, also. And there's also this active steer assist. Maybe you've already picked it up now. Here the car wanted to keep me in the lane. That's also cozy on longer motorway runs. Of course, not as cozy as you want to, want to go very sporty. But luckily, they have a knob here left next to the steering wheel where I can deactivate it quite easily. Some manufacturers also leave those knobs out and have you go way deep there in the menu to search for it. Well, and being stuck in traffic sometimes, then of course this dual clutch transmission really helps you to get a little bit more relaxed, that you don't have to pull the clutch always and then put in the gears manual. That would be also one of the advantages of that. Well, suspension wise, when you're just driving in the city, this one is a sport suspension. You have to be aware of that. So if you're seeking comfort only, then you would not exactly go for that. Then you would go for a normal Kia Ceed or maybe pick a GT line, just get the visuals. This one here is definitely stiffer, so you also lose some comfort in your everyday driving. However, it's not that stiff that it's unrideable or something. If you want to have the GT, you also get it. And you can definitely compare it with the Hyundai i30N. It's the same car somewhat on a technology base. They're using the same platform, and you can also compare the suspension setup. So if you rate those two against the Golf GTI, which is in a lot of countries the benchmark in this segment, at least in Europe, also sales figures wise, the Golf GTI has a relatively forgiving suspension setup, so rather soft, because this DCC, the dynamic chassis control with the adaptive suspension, evens out quite a lot then. And this one here, as the i30N from Hyundai, is a little bit more set to the sporty side from the base setup. And again, that's nothing you can say good or bad, it's just what you expect from the vehicle and what you want. You can always go back to the normal mode, by the way. That keeps you a little bit calmer in the traffic. Doesn't make so much sound, doesn't put up the gears that high. We'll soon do that again when we want to accelerate. Let me just tell you something about the overview when we're standing here. Well, to the rear it's actually quite good. It's a hatch, it has this upright window right there. Then to the sides, well, it is also a design object meanwhile, although it's not the most revolutionary design. So the window line is relatively slim, so that hinders the view just a little bit. And the very flat A-pillar, that is also blocking just a little bit. And well, through the B-pillar, it's also quite thick. So that's another reason to go for the blind spot monitor. That helps you again, because you cannot see that well over your shoulders. Overall, you can still see what's going on around you. And one positive thing about this car is that it's easy to handle and, let's say, easy to proceed, easy to process, because you get in, you start driving, and most of the things are self-explanatory. So I like that it's a very unpretentious vehicle. And when I'm just going around the city here, someone would be looking from the outside, they wouldn't really see, oh, this would be such a special vehicle, I wouldn't arouse so much attention. Well, some guys want to arouse attention with their vehicles, but this one is not really the one you would go for then. This one is rather, you have a lot of power already, you don't want to show it necessarily, you want to show some sporty elements, yes, but you don't want to say, oh, hey guys, I'm driving a Lambo. So you keep it a little bit more subtle in the message. And I think that's also what's charming about this vehicle. Let's test the cruise control, which is optional and adaptive one in this vehicle. There are meanwhile some cars that have it from standard equipment. For example, the Toyota Corolla, which is very unusual, but probably will get more common and common. And this adaptive cruise control, of course, makes more sense when you have it in combination with the dual clutch transmission, as we have it right here, because then you're also more flexible in traffic situations. Speed is being reduced until 0, and so on and so on. So, setting it now here again, and also here when I'm controlling the controls here on the steering wheel, making a small clicking sound. So everything we feel and touch while driving here, the whole driver's input, is really well done. Now let's see, I'm of course always holding my foot over the brake. I'm never 100% trusting the car's system, but you can see here I did not brake. The car did that very well to brake, and now I'm not pushing the throttle. The car is accelerating on its own again. And I had the lane keeping assist deactivated. Let me put it in again once more. I don't know. There it is. Yeah. So now it's on, and it is an active lane keeping assist, but tells me also keep the hands on the steering wheel quite early actually. And so you see the car is also turning itself, but quite late actually. So it's not keeping it in the middle of the lane all the time. It's really waiting until it gets to the side, and then it's correcting again. So it's not on the, let's say, very high autonomous or semi-autonomous level, but maybe also not that necessary for this vehicle here. So let's already go back to the sport mode once again. Thinking about if it would make sense to put it somewhere else on the steering wheel, but then again, it's already quite overloaded. So you always have to look down and search for it here, or maybe you get to know the position after a while when you own this vehicle. So between normal and sport mode, the car does not shift down automatically in that way. So it's always good to have the shifting pedals ready, that you can shift down yourself before accelerating. So we can, for example, be in 4th gear now and show you some acceleration 75 to 100. Let's let them pass so they don't get irritated by what I'm doing here. So 4th gear, and let's go. That's 100. Quite decent sound indeed, and you see also you have this 1.6 liter turbo, which is not high in displacement, but you do have enough power reserves, so that works. With this about 7.4 seconds acceleration to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. It's not top in the segment, not top among the hot hatches, but it's also not top in the price. So they rather going for this good price performance deal. And then you can also think, yeah, you know, if I save a couple of €1,000, then I'm maybe not interested that it's a second slower than a Golf GTI or something. Then you might be able to just, you know, accept that you do have enough power still. Also now at 100 kilometers, about a lane change. Really stable, good feeling also from the steering. Deactivating lane keeping assist, and I get the pure feeling of the steering wheel too. So it's giving me a very neutral and balanced response overall. I feel for that reason also pretty safe in the vehicle. Let's get behind that GTI there. So that's the competitor. Let's chase it. Wanna race? No, just kidding. Would never do that on public roads. That's a good thing when you're on racetracks quite often. When you can really let it out on the racetrack, you don't feel like you would be needing to do that on public streets, and that's probably also the best way to go for. I'm heading now for a roundabout to test more of that agility of the vehicle. When there are, by the way, just some waves and not some potholes or something, the suspension is also very comfortable. So just in some potholes you feel that the sporty setup would hinder your comfort experience. Other than that, it's actually quite well done. And of course, for a sporty experience, that's also cool because it keeps you really rather upright. So I just leave some space. They have a little bit more to work with here. On the front wheels here, seat, I don't have to turn the steering wheel that much. Not much tilting. Really much fun to drive this car around here. Yeah, when you hammer it too hard on the front wheels, you feel some understeering effect. That's also quite natural with a turbo and a lot of horsepower just on the front wheels. So can't complain about that. Wow, cool. Really keeps it very nice in the corner. And that is again one thing, if you seek sporty car driving and you dream of, oh, I want to earn a very, very expensive sports car one day or something, and don't aim for, you know, like just work for that and ignore everything else. Just enjoy your life, get great food, pay money for that and so on. Don't save all the money for like 100,000 euros or dollar sports car if you don't have, like so much money. You'll be also just fine with some sporty variants of normal vehicles, and the reason is they are also quite light. And you've maybe also seen or felt that here, feeling the vibes through the camera. It is also a lot of fun to drive those cars. And I can also say that among all the cars I've been driving on racetracks worldwide, just the normal Volkswagen Golf was one of the most fun cars on the racetrack, because it was so forgiving. It was pretty easy to drive. Even if you're not a super experienced professional race driver, you can score some decent lap times with. And the same accords also for this very vehicle here. So it is really easy to drive, and that's why it's also so much fun. And you don't feel like in a professional racing situation like you would be, like in a very, very expensive semi or one-purpose sports vehicle. This one here is still multi-purpose. You can use it for some fun driving, but you can also just use it in everyday driving and get your groceries and whatever. This still does work. And still thinking back to this 2013 drive of the Kia Ceed, which was one of my very, very first car reviews I did, and wow, so much time has passed. This year, a completely new generation. What do I take from that? What is the real difference? Because still knowing that day as it would be yesterday somehow. Well, I have more room here in the front. I do also realize while driving that is very crucial to me. So it feels like a grown-up car, just space-wise. That is, I think, the most important experience for a driver. And of course the new chassis, which is stiffer and delivers a sportier and more evolved drive. I think those ones would be the two main points about this all-new generation. And then of course all the small things like the improved quality, and if it's just this clicking here of this cruise control button that gives you a more quality experience, and then the infotainment has changed. It's good to have the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, but honestly, other than that, if you take a look at the GPS we did earlier, more should have been changed there. Meanwhile, if you think about this, this is still it's an all-new vehicle, but the infotainment is already outdated again. That's one of the core problems of the automotive industry at the moment. They cannot keep up with the pace of the infotainment industry. That's because they're thinking like, a steel industry, which is thinking in 7 or 8 years term. That's a big problem, one of the main challenges at the moment. Yeah, but overall I think pretty solid car, good fun ride, and really a lot of positive aspects we could gather here today with the Kia Ceed GT. And now to our conclusion for today with the Kia Ceed GT. In this new generation, they've strengthened the platform. You feel it while driving. It is somehow more evolved and more stable, sportier while driving, feels very good. You also have more room in the front and in the trunk. However, on the rear seats you do not have too much space, you have to be aware of that. The material quality, especially on the inside, has been improved significantly. It's really good how, how the stuff feels, and they really closed the gap to the competition right there. Overall feels like a very well evolved car. The infotainment system could be a little bit more up to date as for example, the car internal GPS. Then again, some more room on the back seats would have been good. Yeah, some more displacement I would also wish, because over 200 horsepower from 1.6 liter. Yeah, a lot of manufacturers are doing that these days. I'm not really a big fan of it. However, it was super much fun to drive this vehicle. Just remember those corners over there, really cool to drive. And then yeah, I think you can also forgive that you don't have a limited slip differential in the front there. It's not set to be out to be the sportiest one in this very hot hatch segment. It doesn't have to be. I think it's also a clever choice to search that niche a little bit below Hyundai F30N, below the Golf GTI. You have some decent comfort somewhat. However, the suspension is set out on a sporty tone. You have to be aware of that. But I think the greatest point of this vehicle here is, it's not a super excellent vehicle overall, but it's a good vehicle at an excellent price-performance ratio. Both, or maybe even more so, the standard Kia Ceed in the new generation, and also here, if you take it a little bit sporty here with the Kia Ceed GT. What do you think? Leave me your comments about that vehicle. Let's discuss it, and I hope to see you also next time, and also tune in to our competitor reviews, for example, the Golf GTI or the Hyundai A30N or the Honda Civic Type R, all with a little bit different position price-wise and horsepower-wise, but all interesting to compare.